Surf's Up fam, I'm your host, Corey Shane Brown. It is Surf's Up intention to resonate with the listeners of the San Diego community and communities beyond by sharing the stories of the creators and entrepreneurs we meet in order to discover the keys to unlocking our shared potential and inspiring others on how to develop themselves in order to live a more balanced life. This will in turn raise the community and ultimately inspire listeners to live a life of personal sovereignty and financial freedom. Before we begin, I'd kindly request that you hit the subscribe button, and if you like what you hear, give us a like and or comment down below, and hit that notification bell for upcoming episodes. All feedback is welcome. If you would like to support us, there is a Patreon link as well as affiliate links to the equipment used to produce Surf's Up podcasts in the description. If you feel inspired to create a podcast of your own, this is likely the most cost-effective way to do so. I receive a small commission without any additional cost to you. Without further ado, I would like to thank you for dropping in with us and welcome to Surf's Up Podcast. Surf's Up Podcast. He was once a licensed marriage and family therapist. That one day, he took his knowledge, charisma, character, and wisdom and started offering deep value to the world. He offers digital products and coaching services to men who want social confidence, getting rid of negative addictions, and reaching their full potential. He is Pinnacle of Man on YouTube, author of 2 books, and most importantly, a congruent human being. Thanks for dropping in with us, and join me as I welcome Pinnacle of Man, Josh Hudson.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me. Chilling like a villain, you know? Just enjoying life. In these troubled times that we are currently living in.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to be grateful when it comes to these kind of situations.
One of my favorite quotes is,
Let me hear it.
what was it? Opportunity is served on the silver platter of change.
Ooh.
And that's
MJ. I got to digest that
That's
one.
MJ DeMarco, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. Pretty sure it's MJ DeMarco.
Nice, man. That's really good.
Yeah. So I wanted to start off and kind of ask your origin story of, you know, I guess you went through college, you became a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yeah.
And then just take us through it.
Yeah, you know, like my parents were killed in Gotham, and then I had to. No, man. Sorry, I had to throw a little joke.
No,
I hear origin story, and I think superheroes immediately. Like, came from the planet Krypton, it was destroyed. Grew up on a farm. You know, the usual. Bit by a spider. You know, I always say that your mess becomes your message. I don't know who I stole that from. It's not mine, so I can't say it's mine.
I know it's funny how quotes go like that. The quotes transcend the author.
If you look that up, there's no original quoter, but I'll take credit for it. I'll just start saying it enough people think it's me. You know, it's like Michael Scott in The Office is like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky. But yeah, man. I got cheated on my first relationship. That whole spiel, and then that same pattern repeated.
And that was like in high school.
That was my first girlfriend. Lost my V card to her. All that stuff. Fell in love. Was like, oh, she's the one. Really believed it. And not to minimize my younger self, but I truly believed it. And so, then I recognized some truth about human behavior, which led to some red pill stuff. But
yeah.
And then I kept on.
I'm guessing you like loved psychology all through high school and.
You know,
because I was obsessed with psychology.
People always ask, why did you become a therapist? I give a million different answers. Honestly, like, for all I know, so we can get pretty fringe here, but like, for all I know, my favorite type of Pokemon was psychic type, and I thought psychic was like cool for psychology, so that could be the reason why, right? But like, or you can go like super esoteric with it and be like, you know, maybe I went into this path in life because I'm supposed to. It's karmic lessons. Who knows?
Yeah.
But whatever the reason is, I'm following what life is, the kind of signpost that's life's giving me, and it's led me to serving who I'm serving now, and I'm using my pain that I learned a lot of lessons about life, and yeah, man. So essentially I got hurt, and then I learned, and that sent me to learn from it, got my master's in psychology. The pain happened again and again, and I recognized, okay, it's either all women are this way or something about me, and I chose to take responsibility, unlike some people.
Yeah.
And that led to new understandings.
I think that's the path to
new results now.
Personal growth is to recognize that in whatever situation it is, if you can step out of being the victim
Yeah.
and take responsibility, that's when your real growth and understanding of whatever situation it is can really take place.
You know, it's like people always talk about like when you have your brand or your business, like you have to find someone who's the quote unquote enemy. And I don't like that. But at the same time, if there was an enemy of a Pinnacle person, which is I call my audience, it's someone who's a complete victim, blames everyone else.
Yeah.
I remember specifically, I've met thousands of people throughout my practice over the years, and there's only one person that I truly did not like. I could always, I worked with sex offenders, by the way.
You're human.
And I could always find one redeeming quality or something about a human being where I can like them. This guy, I hated him, and I didn't know why. My mentor at the time, my supervisor, we actually talked about it for a good 2 hours after. And I found out the one quality he had, he kept on blaming everyone else in his life for everything. Never took a shred of responsibility. So yeah, if there's like someone I hate or an enemy, it's someone who takes no responsibility in life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's truly unbecoming.
Yeah, man. It's like this victim is like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's like a weird vibe, you know?
Yeah. I think, I think not my parents, but just I think parents in general that exhibit that, nature really pass that on to their kids.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's just a repeating cycle. And it's really hard to get out of that because your brain develops until you're 25.
25, 26, yep.
Yeah, but you don't really get stuck in your ways till about 35, from what I understand. You can always change, but it just after 35, it becomes really hardwired. According to Joe Dispenza.
Okay, I don't know where you heard that, but like that completely aligns and correlates with. I've been getting on hundreds of calls with guys over the past couple of years for like sales calls for guys who want to either quit porn, which is one of my programs I help guys with, or like date. I noticed that around the age of 35 and ultra 40, guys, even though it's a big pain in their life, they feel like they're completely helpless around it because they got to that point where like they want to do something about it, but they feel helpless, so they don't take action.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with Dr. Dispenza about that.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh, I've read all of his books.
Yeah.
Becoming Supernatural, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind movies, man.
What's the one with the mind? There's another one. I can't remember what it's called now.
I only read those two. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's taking basically the law of attraction tenets and he's kind of applying a science to it. So that's really cool.
One of his quotes is, "Science is the contemporary language of mysticism," and I love that because it's
Can we break that down a little bit?
Go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, like, so science is the contemporary language of mysticism.
Yeah, because it's purely objective. Well, until you start getting into the social realms of scientists, then it's not. Right. Because you start having encampments of different thoughts and then wanting to push your, get whatever, what am I trying to say here? Get whatever, like, thought patterns you're trying to push or whatever you believe pushed on to be, scientifically proven and relevant. And then there becomes this bias. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. And this kind of bleeds into a little bit of like, already a couple minutes in, we're already talking about like, what is reality, right? Like,
that's fine.
No, I love it. I love it, man. So when it comes to the sciences, like, yeah, like you could say like gravity exists and it's a fundamental law of nature that would exist without us, but like, would it? I mean, there's the idea that rationalists believe that like, if there's a tree falls in the forest, if there's no one there to hear it, it doesn't make a sound. Yeah. Because when there's the perceiver and then there's the actual stimulus, and you need the stimulus doesn't exist without the perceiver. That's what rationalists believe, and so it's like when it comes to those social sciences, like that you can say that they're not objective and like the hard sciences are, but I mean, could those hard science facts be replicated in a different area in space and time? I don't know. We can't prove that. Yeah,
we can't.
So yeah, man, it's interesting.
So you went to college. You got your doctorate.
No, master's. Yeah, I'm not a doctor. I gotta say that for legal reasons.
Got you. You're not a doctor. Perfect.
Not a doctor.
And then, so I guess you went through. You were counseling. What hit you to the point that you wanted to just work with men and start the YouTube channel?
I hate women. They're disgusting. They're awful. I don't understand them. No. a lot.
You're trying to understand them. You're on a mission to understand them. Literally.
They don't understand themselves. No, I'm just kidding. No. I on some camps I get called a misogynist from some of the videos I put out, and then I get called a simp from the guy. So it's like I'm on two ends of the spectrum from all the haters. But I chose to help men mainly because I know that if you niche down, it's better for business. I would like
For
to help.
sure.
I would like to help everyone. And I considered making content for women, but it would just make my message too wide ranging because I've had female
Do
clients
you know about
in my
Lucario?
private practice.
You ever heard of Lucario?
No.
He's a dating coach for men and women.
Okay.
He's on YouTube as well.
Nice. Yeah, never heard of him. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the reason.
No, I'm just saying if
Uh,
you ever wanted to branch out, maybe like soak
Yeah.
up some of his content.
You know, I've been talking with my business partner about this. After we make our male products, we might move into female one. Who knows? Using the same principles. Matthew Hussey did that really well. He started off with
Yeah.
coaching men, and then he transitioned to women using game principles for women, and he's wildly successful at it. So I'm not saying that I'm opposed to helping women. I just I think you should niche down as a business person,
For
especially in
sure.
2020. Like, are you going to go to someone
You
who's
gotta-
like, I help people find love, or it's like I help men who are like if you're an engineer who's 30 years old, I help 30-year-old men who are engineers like after a bad breakup. Like you're going to go to the guy who specializes every
Yeah.
time. So it's better to niche down.
Yeah, I've learned here lately that like as far as spreading myself too thin and not giving proper attention to the things that I really want to do, and like instead of having like 5 things going on, like having 2 things going on and putting yourself
100% to it. Yeah.
is a lot more beneficial. It's just you're gonna shine through a lot more. You're gonna create a lot more value than spreading it across. You know, diversifying your money or your investments is a good thing,
Yes.
but diversifying your value input is not. Like, I mean, it is to a degree. You know, doing a couple different things, but it needs to be over a span of time.
Yeah.
You need to become a master at one thing
Yes.
before you move on
Yes.
to doing multiple.
Not a big fan of
disciplines.
him, but Dan Locke talks about that. You know, Dan Locke, he's
No.
an entrepreneur. Some call him a, what's the word for a fake entrepreneur? But whatever it is. But like one thing he does say that's really good. Like, yeah, you become
A
top.
entrepreneur.
Yeah,
That's what they
he
call
he
him.
has a lot of money, but like some scam artist or whatever. But because he has some scammy stuff. But like one thing he
Got
does
you.
says that does make sense is like like every successful person they mastered one craft. They get high income skills is what he calls it. You become really good at that one thing. And then you start to diversify after that. So
Yeah.
second what you said. So
Cool. So, when did the YouTube channel start? Like, how old were you?
6 years ago, but
Okay.
I started it. I want to say a year into grad school. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
6 years ago.
But
25 years
you
old.
told me previously when we talked, you didn't start taking it seriously for a few years, or it was.
I wasn't treating it like a business.
Yeah.
And I was wondering why it wasn't growing. You know, I didn't understand, and then it made sense after I learned.
Got you. So can we unpack that a little bit? Because
Yeah.
I
you
think
want me
that.
to tell you the difference between the two, like why I did differently?
Yeah, because I think
Yeah.
that's something I need to. I understand kind of what I need to do, but at the same time, like my focus is on the value and
Yeah.
and not treating it like a business yet,
Right.
which I just started, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But I have no idea besides affiliate links how I'm gonna start to monetize this.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously, you know, YouTube ad revenue and all that, but that comes like after 1,000 subscribers, 44,000 watch hours. Like,
Right.
you know, that takes time.
Yeah, so I could just tell you a story. Maybe this will help.
Okay.
So I was obsessed about getting 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like I was like, that is the benchmark you need to go full time on this because there was like 7 other YouTubers that I follow for years. That's the point.
And
that
they
when-
all had.
well, that's the point
100K.
where they made the transition. They made videos about it, right? And so it's been stuck in like the ether of YouTube, creators that like 100,000 when you can go off on your own. And so one of my business mentors, Jesse, a good friend of mine, lives
Yeah.
with me, right? He was like, why do you need 100,000 subscribers? I was like, because that's, I told him I just told you. He's like, okay, so you need a certain amount of money from ad revenue, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, can you make money in other ways to make enough rent to do that for good? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you can like make a video that has good copywriting that leads to a coaching call that leads to coaching for like 3K. I was like, it just didn't like connect with my reality.
Yeah.
And then like it was a lot of like forcing, and then finally I did it and it worked. I was like,
It's
holy
setting
crap.
up multiple income streams from the same value point.
Right.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah. So I was just hoping that like, and I heard this a lot from people. It's like, we think our stuff is so good. And even if it is quality, like people don't recognize that unless you have certain ways of presenting that, you know what I mean? Cause like I'd be making the same content as like other huge channels like Charisma on Command, who has like 3 million followers now. And Same topic, same edit. The styles were pretty much identical, which was another issue I was doing. I was copying. I wasn't being myself,
Yeah.
which is not valuable. People sense that incongruency.
Yeah.
And
Congruency is key. That's the key to everything.
I had this,
in my opinion.
I had this epiphany on a certain psychedelic actually, where I got back from Crossed, which is a music festival here for those who don't know.
Yeah.
Most people I'm sure do, but
those of San Diego that are watching this know.
Pretty much all know, yeah. So I came back and we're just chilling on the couch, and I went off on a rant with my roommates there listening to me. It was like a happy rant. I was just like and I'm being like everyone else, and they sense that if I just be me, they'll feel that and they'll stay around, which will increase the value, people will stick around, which will increase the numbers. Like, give me what I want.
You're going through realization moments,
dude. Oh my god, it was just like, oh my god, like just be yourself, Josh. Like, holy crap, you're always being someone else, right? And so that was a huge piece. And then
we wear a lot of masks.
Yeah.
As humans, we wear a lot of masks,
Yeah,
and
man.
I got into a lot of Jim Carrey's stuff for a while, and last year I was actually the mask for Halloween. And if you go back and watch the movie from perspective like we have now, you realize how
is there like multi-messages in there?
there's multi-messages in that movie. It is wild.
Oh, okay.
Like, all the characters have archetypes to them in the movie. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it speaks to the man that he is now. That he was back. He was. I don't know how to explain it, but you can see it in all his movies.
Wow.
But
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show.
Dude.
I believe San Diego is the Truman Show. Like,
I mean,
the city,
closest city to it.
The closest city to it.
Right? Or like
the sunset
Coronado,
that's always
Coronado
perfect.
is Coronado.
Coronado, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah, man, 100%. Like, you see someone like walking out of one of those just like white picket fence homes, just like going off to work. Right?
Golf cart or the golf course, like just across the street.
Seriously, man.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was talking about this on a date the other day with a girl, but the Truman Show like sets up the idea that's very similar to like Hindu belief about reality, and like that this is all just one big drama. Like it's a giant movie. We're all actors, right? Because we're all God putting on these masks of like you're Corey, I'm Josh, but we're all just God, and like it's all one giant play, right? And
I think that's true for the earthly realm of things, but I think that there's a bigger divine game being played.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I forgot which.
So once you remove those masks that we were speaking of, you can really start to get down to like what's actually happening, and like what your purpose is and what your mission is, to show other less enlightened human individuals like kind of a better way to live. That's really why I started the podcast. Not that I know everything. I don't. I'm learning as I go. But I'm just trying to. I've created a place that I can share what I'm learning as I go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know where I'm quite going with that. When it gets esoteric,
you're documenting, man, and that's really good. Like, you can look back on these episodes like 20, 40 years from now and just like listen to one and be like, holy crap, and it's gonna bring up so many like joyful memories. And, yeah, it's really cool, man. It's one of the positives of this technology. There's also cons that we could talk about, but there's a lot of positives to like technology.
Yeah, technology, money, all those things. There's no good or inherent evil in power. Power is just power, and it's how you use it.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
It's how it's transmuted, whether it becomes good or bad.
The person using it, exactly, just like a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, money is another tool that to be used, just like certain drugs and psychedelic, like opiates, for example, do help people in chronic pain, but they can also kill people.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And it leads to addictive tendencies. And another thing is like, one thing that we've done with drugs is we've distilled these plant spirits to such a concentrated degree that there's no wonder why they're addictive. If they were taken naturally, like herbalists, use them in the dosage that the earth provides it to us, then there's a way less likelihood of actually reaching an addictive scale.
I mean,
if that makes sense.
You talk about like just not even those drugs, but like sugar and caffeine.
Yeah. No,
Like-
I quoted this on one of my previous podcasts, but all of our first addictions, and it's not our parents' fault because they didn't know, but that some of them did. But a lot of people that reach addictive tendencies, it started with sugar.
Mhm.
It started at 4 years old with sugar.
Can we talk about like the drug that's not talked about much? Like,
Sure. What
which
I mean,
is not like you don't consume it literally, but like porn, like this is one thing.
yeah,
I help
no,
guys with like
addiction.
kids start watching porn at 12, 13 years old, sometimes earlier, and like historically when we were evolving, you would see maybe 2 to 3 women naked in your life,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah,
at a click of a mouse, a
biologically-
12-year-old could see hundreds, thousands every single day they want.
Yeah. Our minds are evolving because we're not neurologically programmed to take on that much novelty.
Dopamine.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I was watching this. There was a movie. I was at a party the other night and they were watching a movie called Good Boys, and it was about these little kids and like these kids are like 13 and they're watching porn for the first time, and it's like really risque porn, and they're like, what the is this? Like, and I exactly what you're talking about. It's just like they're trying, as kids, they're trying to get an understanding of what is going on with my body, you know, as they're going through puberty and stuff. And so their parents, usually not in Europe, it's a very like open discussion, but here it's not. And so they're looking for answers. You know, what's going on with my body? Why do I think that girl's cute now? Like what's going on? And so they have to do sketchy things and they find porn, and then there's all this like super like novelty porn out there or taboo porn out there that they're coming across, and they're like, this is this how it works? This makes sense. This is And so they become very confused.
Yeah.
And I think that creates a lot of like the addiction problem is you just got to keep ramping up the taboo-ness until, which I think you discussed in one of your videos actually.
Yeah, no, I talked about a particular study that they polled like a couple thousand men, and they looked at the age of exposure to porn, how much they watch it per week, and the type of porn.
Yeah.
And the earlier you watch it, the more you watch it, the more likely you are to watch deviant types like bestiality and all the other negative ones that I want to mention. So, and that's because of dopamine downregulation. And so what happens is like you need more novelty to get it up and get off, right?
Yeah.
And so you're watching stuff that normally you were not even aroused to it. You're just connecting a stimulus and a response. But guys are like, I just whacked off to something so disgusting. I feel so shameful about myself. I'm going to isolate myself now because of the shame. And the isolation tendencies make you depressed. And like this is a direct correlation with, the cycle repeats, man. And so, and then the crazy part is that if we went out there and polled 100 guys, how many guys thought porn was normal? I would say like 95 would say, oh, it's whatever, it's normal. Just don't do it too much, you know? Yeah. And like, it's insane, man. So it's one of the many things that are, I think, causing a lot of depression.
Addiction can go so deep that like you just brought up one, it has nothing to do with an actual, it does have to do with certain substances, but it can just be a behavior. Just a behavior.
Gambling.
Yeah. Because the chemicals going off in your brain is what really triggers the addiction. And so it has, and what we need to like understand is addiction comes from what's going on in the brain. You know what I mean? And I have in one of my writings like addiction has a simpler form, and to me, addiction is a luxury, honestly, to a lot of people. To a man that's not on his path, it's a luxury, because someone that's on their path, they have no way to have both in their life, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely a first world problem.
Yeah, for sure. And everybody has their vices, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, well, let's take a break.
Okay.
And then I will be right back.
Perfect.
With Josh Hudson. And we're back with Josh Hudson. So we were just talking about addiction and how it can just be behaviors, and it doesn't have to necessarily be substances.
Right.
So going back to the entrepreneurism, at what point did you realize that you could start taking Pinnacle of Man and making it your sole source of income?
Yeah. So
Jesse, he like kind of alerted you to the fact that you could bring in multiple income streams.
right. I got my first client, which was like 4 times more per hour than I was getting at my job. And then I got a second client.
You were still doing some therapy.
I was working at an addiction facility here on PB.
Okay.
And as the in-house therapist there. And I was also got my first coaching client online. And then I got my second one. And I was like, wow, if I get one a week, one a month, I can manage my bills at least. And so
once you hit that moment where you're like, I can break even with this, then you start really being like, okay, then it just takes a little more effort and you can really start like ramping it up.
If I devote all the time into my job into this, can I get an extra client per month? And like I was like pretty optimistic that I could. And then the thing that helped me to like push me over the edge, so to speak, was when I turned 30 years old, I imagined myself on my deathbed, right? And like I saw like my granddaughter.
Wait. Oh, when you turn, okay, sorry.
When I turned 30 years old.
I
was dying at 30.
I thought you were saying like...
No, yeah.
Because a lot of us think that we're life's over at 30. So.
Dude, a lot of people do think that.
I think it's just beginning. But I'm 29.
Oh, dude,
so.
It gets better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, so I turned 30 years old and I had this visualization of being over like 90 years old on my deathbed, and my granddaughter comes up to me and she asked me if I regret not going for my dream, because my granddaughter would be super smart, I guess, and intuitive. And I was like filled with regret, and I felt that in that moment. And I was like, I do not want that to be my future. And so I was like, you know what? The worst thing that could happen to me is I quit, go for this full time, and I lose all my savings, and I go back to the same job because they said I could come back. And the best thing that could happen is achieving my dream.
Was this just curious? Was this just like your imagination playing around, or was this like kind of a premonition moment, or was there anything else involved? Do you remember the moment like specifically? I'm just curious.
It was a string of a couple of moments.
Okay.
One was I took mushrooms for my first time in a ceremony.
Okay.
And it was a guided ceremony. I never did psychedelics before this. I read a crap ton beforehand. Like so many books, listened to thousands of hours of pretty much everything of Alan Watts, which he doesn't talk about psychedelics too much, but like everything he talked about influenced and guided the type of experience I had in that session.
I think his stuff is so powerful because he doesn't talk about, like he does very briefly, he'll touch on LSD because he ran in the... Very briefly. But I think his stuff's so powerful because he doesn't push that agenda. You know,
he doesn't push any agenda. That's what I love about him when he speaks. Like he always says like
purely objective.
I'm not trying to like convince anyone of anything. Like I'm speaking because I like to speak. Like you can listen. Like he goes, I would be doing this if no one was listening.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to actually present yourself on a podcast, YouTube video, whatever. It's like you just do it because you enjoy it, and then that comes across on the screen or in the mic. But so I had this experience. It was full on ego death for those who want, know what that is, and saw who I thought it was. And when you kill off who you think you are, it allows you to become who you want to be.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, man, I saw who I thought I was. This therapist in San Diego who had to do this, and this.
Because you're taking off the mask at that point.
Yeah, you can be whoever the hell you want, right? And so...
And you realize you can put on any mask and be that for the time being 100%. If you need to navigate different situations in life.
There's a theory in, I think, Korean philosophy that believes that it's called like the daimyo, or that's Japanese, I think, but like basically meaning that like we have like this self that we can never see, but it's just like it always reflects
the watcher.
It always reflects a different self no matter who you're with. That we have thousands of selves because like I'm a certain person with you, I'm a certain person with my mother, my father, my girl I'm dating right now. Like,
but there's
roommate.
There's a self behind all those.
The observer, yeah.
The observer.
Stephen Hayes, who created ACT therapy, acceptance commitment therapy, he conceptualized it as the observed self and the conceptualized self, right?
Yeah, I got that from Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, so and across, they're not the ones who made it up. They got that from Eastern philosophy and Zen Buddhism. Of course. And right. It's like you're the one observing the thoughts, right? Which is like consciousness, which is who we are, right? So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I love when they get deep and they're just like, what else do we say?
Well, I can keep on going on it forever and ever, man.
Send it.
Send it. I mean, yeah, dude. So like, it's crazy because the first time I heard about Alan Watts, big like if anyone in the world I could have a beer with, dead or alive, it'd be him, 100%. And
Yeah,
you're thinking
probably.
I mean, it's each their own, everyone. But like the biggest thing that when I first heard him, I
Or
was like,
Leary, maybe Leary, but
yeah,
probably
I
Alan
was
Watts.
I was devoting my whole entire life to get my grad program degree, my master's program, and this mother. Can I cuss? I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
This motherfucker, he basically said that like therapy was pointless. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? He was like, because like both therapy, but
I love how he checks you to get you to realize a different perspective.
To like therapy like with Freud and Carl Jung, like a lot of the modern approach, like where they would basically be the expert of the client's life. Now therapy, most therapists are postmodern, meaning that like you're the expert of your own life, Corey, that like I kind of guide you to what you want instead of telling you what you want. So like he was more opposed to like Freudian psychology and psychoanalytic, but yeah, man, he just really challenged my conception of like what life is, why we're here, and just like opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. So it happens more and more rare now, but like the first couple of years of reading books, I would hear a book and I would hear a tenet about reality and just like it was like a holy crap moment.
Yeah.
You're just like fuck. And he gave me like 3 or 4 of those. So
yeah,
really cool.
Yeah, it was something about his voice. I had heard
British
sound clips of his voice in like
chill step mixes, right?
Just like not even in songs. Chill step mixes. I don't even know where I heard it. Maybe I don't even know where I heard it the first time.
That's where I first heard him is like music mixes. People put like some of his words in there.
Yeah, and I just eventually I read the biography of Timothy Leary, and then it mentioned like Alan Watts, and then I don't even remember where I put it all together. But when I found the voice, I knew that was a voice of wisdom. And when I started listening, I just couldn't stop. And that's when I started meditation. I still don't do it enough, but
yeah, me either.
It's hard. But just listening to him, and what I've learned also, Joe Dispenza said, meditate means to become familiar with. So really anything can be a meditation.
Yeah.
Running for me is a meditation.
Yeah, so you're referring to also like the flow state, right?
Yeah.
Mihaly talks about this in his book, where it's just like you're in the present moment, nothing else matters, you're out of your mind, you're in your body, in the environment, you're one with the environment. Yeah. But we're all chasing that. Like that was my biggest epiphany the last time I went explore psychedelics was I recognized that we're all chasing this state in different forms. Like adrenaline junkies, like think about jumping out of an airplane. Are you thinking when you're jumping out? I did that
on Leap Day.
Nice.
February 29th, Leap Day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For your first time? Or?
We fried and flied.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we went during sunset, and it was like I saw the sunset, and it was just one of the most gorgeous things I ever saw, and from that height. But yeah, so like if you think about it, like people who are sadistic, like want pain, like pain is a strong emotion, you're out of your mind, right? Like drinking alcohol, drugs, like work obsessed. You're so devoted to your work, like everything we're addicted to is getting out of our own mind.
So one thing that I've come up in my writings is life is a game, as a balancing act of life is deep as fuck. So it's an acronym. It's DEEPAF. So it's a balancing game of discipline, energy, effort, perspective, awareness, and focus. And there you can go on and on with different virtues and values. But I think that the balance between those 6, and if you're overdoing certain areas, you're losing balance in the other areas. So workaholics, they're all effort. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they really lose awareness on like their health and different different other things. And so I really believe that like that's the reason I called it Surf's Up Podcast, because surfers, you can't overpower the wave. You can't over effort a wave.
No.
You have to have timing, you have to have awareness, you have to have perspective on the wave. You got to have some effort, you got to paddle, and then once you get up, it's all about balance and finding your flow. So that's why I call it Surf's Up Podcast, because I really want to explore all those different areas and aspects of a person's life and and showcase them through stories like yours and everyone I bring on, so that people can start to relate and understand that, like, other podcasts, it's just like millionaire talking to millionaire.
Yeah.
And there's a real disconnect there.
Mm-hmm.
They help me a lot, but at the same time, there was a disconnect that I wasn't relating to them on a personal level. But I hope that through this podcast and people realizing, like, we're just two guys that live down the street in PB, you know what I mean? And we're creating our own happy life. And we don't have to have, sure, we would love millions of dollars, but we don't need that.
No.
To live a fulfilled life.
No, man. Like, walking down to the beach and, like, surfing and then watching the sunset, like, it's free.
I've already made it.
Like,
you know what I mean?
If I said this the other day, I was watching the sunset on a date with a girl, and we were sitting there watching, and I was like, if the world somehow kind of, like, made this exclusive, people would pay 10 G's to see a sunset.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah, this guy was staying in the OB hotel the other night. He's like, he's paying $200 a night. He's like, that's $1 million view right there. And we were like, you know, he's right. Because he was from Texas. And we were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that's some perspective for us. Because he's right. That is $1 million view. And we're here every day.
Yeah, think of someone who's born in, like, an area where it's mostly dark and cold, like up in the Arctic. Like.
Yeah. So a little bit from my story is I had a best friend pass away, and I came to visit my other best friend here to get away that summer, just to get away from my hometown, get away from distractions, addictions. I had an opiate addiction at the time, smoked weed, like, I had problems, and I was about to spiral out of control. I visited here, and I was instantly like, whoa, there's another way to live. There's a beautiful place out there, and I always wanted to live at the beach. And I was here on my last day. Here was my first day, supposed to be second semester in school. Everybody else is getting their syllabuses. I'm sitting on the beach in California, pondering my life and what I'm about to do with it. And I was like, I want to live here. And so I told my friend, I was like, if you end up getting out of the military, I would like to come be your roommate. And 6 months later, I got the call, and he was like, I'm getting out of the military, like, get your shit together. And that's what I did. I left my apartment, moved back in with my parents, got their grace to help me, you know, send me on my way. My grandfather gave me a plane ticket, packed my bags, and got on a plane and came here because I realized that I could go to school for 4 years and work the debt off and do the whole thing, the path that they all sell us. And I could do that just so I could end up at a beach one day, maybe with the white picket fence and the wife and the kids. Or I could just go start from the bottom at the beach and not do the school thing, which I planned on going to school after I got residency here, but didn't pan out. Life took over, you know? So I guess what I'm getting at is one moment that I truly, and this is another thing that this podcast means a lot to me, is right before I left, I went to see my buddy for the last time that was working. He was a chef at the truck stop and like the omelet shop. And I was sitting there, and this trucker walked in. He sat down beside me, and he said, "So, young man, what's your story?" And I was like, this wasn't before I decided to leave. This was right before I decided to leave. And I was like, I don't have a story. Like, I grew up here, and that's it. Like, it's a pretty weak story. And because I had watched all these movies, documentaries, and, like, I had all these, like, heroes, and I was like, that's what I aspire to be, and I'm never going to accomplish that staying here in my hometown. And that's the moment that I was like, I'm moving to California. And I just knew it. I believed it. A lot of people didn't believe me. They thought I'd be back, you know? And just through sheer grit and determination and going through a lot of hell, shitty roommates, bad relationships, my dog ended up passing away, like all kinds of shit has happened. But I always resolved that this is where I wanted to be. And I knew that if I stuck in there, eventually that this city would start to show me the gifts that I wanted out of it. But I had to pay life some respect, and like really realize that I can't force it. You know what I mean? I gotta like let the universe give to me and be accepting of it. Because if I deny it, then there's just no point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, and so given your story, like, and I know the answer for myself, how do you, someone listening, like, how do they recognize what the universe is trying to give them? Like, how do they see that and feel that and know that?
Well, I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Yeah. So you knew that the job path at home wasn't the right path, and you knew
Yeah, it's a
that
blue collar path.
and you knew that San Diego was a better path for you. How did you know that? Like, what were the signs for you?
When I came out here and I had some conversations with the people on the beach, I just realized that their mentality was way more in line with what I had come to understand through like smoking weed and stuff, which was very no back home in Virginia, and just a very like cut and dry, like right and wrong Christian mentality, which I have no problem with Christianity. I have a problem with structured religion. But I'm there definitely very spiritual. Yeah. So it was just more open-minded here.
Sure.
And I knew that I could spread my wings away from the judgment of my family, my past friends, I just took it. Basically, it was the simplest way of taking all my problems and my past and actually just literally putting it behind me, putting it 3,000 miles from me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
At this juncture, let's take another quick break, and then we'll wrap up with one more session, and when we're done.
Cool.
And we're back. So, Josh, what is your current, like, where are you going now with Pinnacle of the Man?
Pinnacle.
Are you just
Pinnacle of Man?
Pinnacle of Man.
Are
you just in repetition mode, or is there like is there a next level that you're looking to achieve?
So when I hear that question, I can just tell you what's kind of going on right now. I'm just basically scaling up, trying to impact as much people as I possibly can.
You've created like
I've seen a lot of exponential growth recently.
A coaching group, right? Like a paid coaching group that's like, not just your content and stuff on YouTube, but
yeah. So I have like two products I help guys with, two services. One is to help guys quit porn. There's a whole group behind that, a course, live calls with guys on that twice a month, and then I'm also doing a dating program as well. And so those are going to be the main two ways I help guys. And then down the road, I want to do press junkets, more podcasts, get the kind of word out there of the message, and then even do like down the road, I want to like have people to like have a weekend-long workshop here. Those men's groups, transformational men's groups, where like just like that powerful kind of men's work. I've gone to a couple of them myself.
Have you done an RSD event ever?
Yeah, it's a little different than an RSD event.
Okay, for sure.
It's a lot more spiritual than RSD event. There's some more emotional, like, because there's more like, because I, as a trained therapist, like I have certain things that I do that RSD isn't really know about. Or
Tyler's getting pretty spiritual, but
is he? Well, I mean, he talks about spiritual concepts, but like so if you watch a good example, if you watch the movie The Work, it's a documentary.
The Work?
Yeah, it's about these civilians, like 4 or 5 of them, who come into a prison workshop that gets held twice a year, I think. And I would highly recommend those listening would go check it out themselves. I'd rather leave it as a kind of like a surprise. I mean, I'll give you a little bit, but basically,
do you know the director or anything?
If you just type in The Work documentary, it'll come up.
Okay.
Very powerful transformational stuff. Like, all of us are holding these as men, especially. We're holding in our emotions a lot of times, and just like that accumulative energy just gets held up into us,
into the body somewhere.
In the body, and
that's where trauma becomes trapped.
It seeps out. Yeah, it seeps out in a lot of negative ways, and so they lead a healthy way to kind of release that. It's a men's group, and I want to do a lot of that work myself because it's very transformational, very powerful, and you see a little transformation in front of you. So that's what I want to eventually get to as soon as things scale up to a large extent.
Yeah, so I'm sure you feel a lot of you get a lot of fulfillment out of seeing these men's life transform before your eyes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
a lot of times you it's like a slow burn, and I get I follow up with guys like weeks and months down the road, like, oh, I have a girlfriend now. It's like, awesome, man, or like this and that. I got my dream job living on. I just got an email from a guy who I think my third coaching client ever. He like had a huge breakdown after our coaching session, which is like you would think is bad, but then like the following months he went to Thailand, like he had this spiritual experience, and then now he's like living in Sydney on the beach, and is like has his dream job and like dating. And I like to get those emails, but they come few and far between. So like seeing the exact, in the moment kind of transformation happen, that would be really rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I really just love the moments when I can make people like, just, whether it be just smile or just make them like take a different objective perspective on something. That's like super rewarding to me.
It's hard to convince people, man, though. Like you can't, this is the one thing I learned. You can't help people who don't want to be helped. And I learned that the hard way when I made videos about Red Pill and MGTOW and incels and all these people.
Yeah, you ruffled some feathers.
As much as I have objective data in there and I come from a loving place, people who don't want to drink the water won't drink the water, man.
Yeah.
Because they think it's poisoned.
And they're always, they got to protect their
ego.
Well, yeah, but they also
sense of self.
They've put in a lot of time and work and to understanding what they think is the truth.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And so...
No, they're emotionally invested in it, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think I really sat down with this one day.
Which is interesting because the Red Pill is all about being as rational as possible.
Right. And I was thinking about this, and I was like, why are so many men getting triggered on those fringe groups? And I really thought about it, and I was like, okay, here's this guy who they see who had the same experiences they have, the same painful experiences, and is objectively able to like live the ideal lifestyle that they say they have, but is saying that's not the right way. Here's another way, and the way that you should be living could lead to getting hurt again. They're like, "Fuck you, dude!" Like you're trying to lead me into a trap, is what they feel.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but
the best way to relay information sometimes is to never use
humor.
Is never. I mean, you probably know this as a therapist. And I learned this in therapy. Because I went through couples therapy, speaking in only I statements, and not you. Never saying you should. Yeah. Should is a shitty word. Should is a terrible word in conversation when you're trying to convince someone. When you can say, this is how I see it,
yeah,
that gives space for the conversation to breathe, and for the person to start to make up their own mind, Yeah. So
I've become kind of resigned to the whole helping those guys, but it sucks, but it is what it is. I only have enough time to help, I guess, those who want.
Yeah, so. No, you definitely need to pay attention to the people that resonate with you, and not try to chase down the ones that don't, because then what you're doing is you're just being like Twitter and just being in argumentative mode.
Yeah, I just know how much pain those guys are in. That's why I have like a strong desire to help them, but you're right. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So,
well, you can keep putting out content.
No, definitely.
Come across it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had guys comment on my videos, few and far between, but I've had a few guys. Like one guy in a video was like, "Hey, I made a hateful comment a couple years back. I was in a bad place. Just want to say, you're helpful." That's one of the.
That's huge.
I've had those comments, yeah. And so and like every single guy that leaves like hate, it's like it's they never have their profile photo, right? And like the few times that they have, it's like exactly who you expect. It's kind of sad, but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, a lot of people have never experienced like an open mind moment. They've been programmed since the beginning.
Yeah. And
they're stuck in that, and that is a really sad fact of most of America. I would say. I can't speak for other nations, of course, but definitely here so it took, once I went to a festival, that I started to really realize how I thought I was open-minded. And then I went to a festival and I met people that weren't. Some people, what really hit me was when I would go to like workshops of people and I met a couple of individuals that solely were just into like herbalism and meditation and didn't do drugs at all. They were just into living that holistic life. And that's when it really triggered for me that there's something way deeper than any substance could really like hand you, except for maybe DMT. But
yeah, man. No, I know. I think like psychedelics are just tools. That's all they are. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Carl Jung, who I revere in his intellect, probably the smartest man that I've ever read.
So Carl Jung or Alan Watts with the beer?
Alan, because I think I'd laugh more with Alan.
For sure.
I'd learn more with Carl, but I'd laugh more with Alan.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd rather laugh than learn.
Yeah.
I guess that says a lot about me, but...
Hey, that's fine.
Yeah. Anyways, I'd learn too with Alan, and I laugh with Carl. But anyways, so I looked up, like, okay, I was like, oh, so Carl Jung was around during psychedelics, and he talks about the archetypes, and the archetypes are intricately connected with, like, the psychedelic experiences. So he had to have tried it, right?
Yeah.
So I found this obscure quote of him when he talks about it. Like, only one line he talked about. He never, like, talks about it ever again.
Yeah.
He said, he goes, he didn't want to bear the responsibility of what he would learn on the drug.
Yeah.
Like, and there's another quote that aligns with that, like, be aware.
That's heavy.
Be aware of unearned wisdom.
Yeah.
And when you take these substances, you are being exposed to...
Sorry, can you say that again?
Be
aware.
Be aware of unearned wisdom.
Yeah, that is... Yeah, I've
I've
definitely been through that.
When you take these substances, like, so what you'll see a lot of times when people have an enlightening experience, which is pretty common.
Yeah, they're getting a download that's a bit too much.
Given the right set and setting and everything, your ego takes that and you interpret that as like, I am this messiah, this messenger, and it's like, I have the answers, and you really were given the answers, but like you use it with your ego and you try to spread it to everyone.
Yeah,
and
instead of realizing
narcissism. Right? Like,
yeah.
I have the answer. I have the truth. I'm trying to help you, but it's coming from a place of ego.
Yeah.
You see how that works?
Yeah, yeah.
A good example of this, I don't know if
instead
you know,
of realizing that we're all not, I'm the Messiah, but we're all the divine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But like, also everyone's on their own path, and like,
of course,
you know, by you saying, here, learn this, take this, do this.
Yeah.
It's like you're not accepting them where they're at.
Yeah.
There's this guy named Connor Murphy. I don't know if you know who he is.
No.
He's a popular YouTuber back in the day. He would just rip his shirt off in public. And anyways, he went for his ayahuasca experience, and it was pretty profound. And he live streamed a 40-day fast, and he was just basically talking about, like, you know, he's
40 days.
He's Jesus Christ and all this stuff. And that's a prime example of what happens to someone who.
Yeah, there's a fine line between enlightenment and disillusionment.
Yeah.
Which both are, there's a fine line there,
yeah.
And you can cross it pretty easily.
Yeah.
If you're not taking care of your body and stuff when you're going into certain situations like that, that's why like ibogaine and ayahuasca, it's a purge and combo. It's a purge, because you can't have all those toxins within you to mix with the enlightening substance that's coming through you, because that's when you get mixed messages, and that's why you purge. Have you heard about ibogaine?
Yeah, I have. I've heard about ibogaine. Yeah. People take it down in Mexico. Usually, it's like very intensely negative experience, but at the same time positive. Like it's physically painful. It's one of the most awful things you'll go through. But like, you're just purging all the negative crap in you, right?
Yeah, it's literally a from what I understand, I don't know, but it's like literally a mental and physical reboot. You're getting, so usually purges are just physical, but it's actually also a mental reboot where there's been, like, I've watched things with people that they say, like, it's literally like you're kind of sitting at an editing booth of the movie of your life, and you can see, like, all your characteristics, and you can sit there and choose which ones you want to keep and get rid of. And that's just, you know, certain people's experience and interpretation of it. But yeah, it's very interesting. And from what I understand from someone else that's gone through both, he said that, actually, I think you've done an interview with Corey Capella. He mentioned to me that ayahuasca is very expansive, and it's a very feminine divinity that you're speaking with, and then and I feel like that's the same way with DMT, which they're the same. But ibogaine is a very masculine energy, and you go in instead of being expansive to your root core, and you speak with that. And have you ever heard about the Bwiti tribe? So the Bwiti tribe is where the iboga root was discovered in Africa. And what they used to do is to understand what the truth was from the universe or whatever they considered their God, they would put 3 men they would induce them with the iboga root. They would send them out into nature separately. And then if all 3 men came back with the same story of what they experienced, then they counted that as truth. And if they didn't come back with the same story, then, and they literally sent them out to survive like a night or 3 nights or something like that. I'm botching this a little bit, but that's just what I've come to understand. And if they came back with all the same story, then that's what the tribe would take as fact and truth. And yeah, so there's also like different shamans that believe that like they don't ascribe to the whole like what's your sign and if this star means this, and like that they really want proof. So it's really interesting how different civilizations like get to a certain point where they start accepting truth, and they're way more, we're at our day and age, like we just take whatever information's in front of us, and if it's convincing enough, we run with it, and then it's like a game of telephone. And then but civilizations previous to us like really took their time with trying to understand what was the truth. Which is, that's a hard word that's an easy word to throw around, but what was actually happening, more than just the linear, black and white like understanding of things. So yeah,
it's really cool. Yeah, it's because of the information overload we have, right? So
yeah, it's hard to decide. Yeah, back then I guess there was a lot less stimulation flying at them.
Just a little bit, right?
Yeah, quite a bit. Well, I mean, there's probably a lot different stimulation, because a lot of it was more like natural stimulation, like worrying about getting food every day and worrying about getting this done. Like you had to work to live. We're in a time now where you can be lazy as shit and survive. And so, like Joe Rogan says, we're just creating more dummies. Like, which we want to expand our lifespans. You know what I mean? But I think that through the through the military-industrial complex, we lost focus on what was most important. And Joe Rogan talked about this the other day, that basically at the core of our great nation are the people, the people that are here. And so the fact that we've ignored education so much and healthcare, and we've just strengthened our power militaristically, we're imbalanced as a country. And now we're showing it, because with what's happened with COVID, now we're mentally not strong enough to like deal with it. Where other countries that have it harder all the time, they're more mentally prepared to be dealing with what's going on right now. Where us living our comfortable lives over here in America, we're losing our shit, Like, I mean, as far as like Portland and Seattle and all across the East Coast, like we're really lucky that we live in this city.
Yeah.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
Because this city has not been affected like as much as any other city that I've really heard about. So, yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man.
Well, we can end it on that juncture.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else to say.
No, man. I mean, people know where to find me, right? Pinnacle of Man on YouTube. And,
Pinnacle of Man on YouTube, and do you have a website?
Yeah, just Pinnacle of Man on YouTube is the best place to find content. Reach out to me. Links are there and stuff. So.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. And so if you want, you can find me at Surfs Up Podcast on Instagram, on YouTube, and Spotify. And yeah, so Surfs Up, Godspeed, live loud, and peace out. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Surfs Up, fam. Corey here. Thanks for tuning in to the episode. We're still growing, so we're really happy you hung in with us and made it to the end. Remember, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. Please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell, as well as check out our Patreon link in the description if you would like to support us. We'll be seeing you in the waters of life's next swell. So prepare well and exercise your freedom. Thanks for listening, and if you have an interesting story of your own, Surfs Up would love to hear it. Email us for scheduling at surfsuppodcasts@gmail.com. Disclaimer. Surfs Up Podcast is for entertainment and inspirational purposes only. It does not endorse any of the activities discussed on the show.